Welcome back to the Fair Fashion Talks. In this episode, we welcome Angelique Thummerer, co-founder and CEO of Turn's Circular System. Turns develops circular workwear solutions for eco-design and textile-to-textile recycling, while reminding us that recycling is not always recycling.
I'm Anshi, the co-founder of Turns, and we are setting up the system in the digital and operational infrastructure to really be able to close the loop for textiles from the post-consumer textile waste up to the new product, while we produce recycled fibers, and we use these fibers as new resource for new textiles. And today, I just want to show how we work, how we made a challenge to an opportunity so far, and how we achieved to do so and to recycle textiles, which is something that before us, no one was really able to do in terms of industrial scale and so on. But I think when we talk about circular economy and circularity, everyone knows already that we are not talking about waste anymore, but we talk about that we design products and that we have products in this world that are designed to come back and to be a resource again and again and again, and we don't produce waste anymore. That's the top goal, but how to get to this point? That's what we asked ourselves. So here you can see my dear co-founder Katja and I. What we do today is we offer the service to make it easy to close the loop, or as Charlotte said, mainly workwear so far, but we also go to fashion industry in that point now. So what we do is we enable textile circularity for companies with our Chinese circular system. And what I mean by circular system, I will tell you in the next minutes. And then I'm happy to hear your questions afterwards, of course. So we are a startup founded 3 years ago in 2023. And what is really innovative and new about our system is that we made fiber-to-fiber recycling. We put it out of the small pilot scale, and we were really able to do this on industrial scale right now. And our mission is that we take the textile waste that we have nowadays in that world, and we solve this problem with the tons and millions of tons of textile waste by using the textiles as a resource for fibers that we put into new production. And first of all, before I got to the system and everything, the most important thing that I always tell everyone in the beginning, doesn't matter which keyword it is that we get a common understanding that recycling is not recycling. Because when I tell you that only 1% of all textiles are recycled today, you go in the store and you go shopping and you see, recycled content, it's nearly everywhere, especially in sportswear and outdoor wear. And then you may think, okay, but why is it then only 1%? That's because when you buy recycled content today and nowadays in the shops, it's not textile-to-textile recycling in that way, because we recycle PET bottles from a different circular stream and put it to the textile stream. And we recycle, for instance, industrial waste, so fabrics, and recycle them and use these resources to produce the textiles. That's not wrong, but textile-to-textile recycling means that we take the textiles that we wore and take them as a new resource. And this has a much higher complexity. So what you won't find nowadays on the market is a real textile-to-textile recycling post-consumer textile waste. This is something that we, as private people, it's something good to understand. So why is post-consumer textile waste more complex than, for instance, PET bottle recycling or taking the industrial waste that is produced during the production? Is that we today don't have an infrastructure for collecting textiles for recycling purposes. When we throw away our outworn textiles, then it only goes to secondhand streams, really. So 87% of this is only going to secondhand and then ends up in landfills or somewhere in the global south. But we don't have a sourcing and collection infrastructure for recycling purposes. And that's what we build up. And then, of course, when we recycle this fiber, we have a completely new material. So the production so far, they did work with virgin fibers and virgin yarns, but the recycled fiber has different parameters and is a different way to work with it. And in the end, what is really important, you may discuss this also in your studies, that for circularity, we need a common understanding, we need data standards, we need interoperability between the different stakeholders during the production and supply chain. And that's also what we don't have, especially in textile industry. And another thing that I want to point out here is you heard Michael from Wood earlier. That's great because recycling is not the only solution to circularity. Before we come to recycling, we should repair, we should reuse, and we should do things like upcycling. But the thing is that on an industrial scale, on bigger scale, we need solutions that are really scalable. And that is the thing about why everyone is talking about recycling in terms of textile circularity. Okay, so let's come to our solution. What are we doing and how did we solve the problem that we don't have any infrastructure, that we don't have data standards? And how to bring, when you imagine you have a wall-out textile as an employee from a certain company, doesn't matter, where to put it, and how to get this waste to a new product. We set up the whole supply chain and really making it easy via an online portal where the clients can just easily enter, I have 7 tons of textile waste because we changed all our polo shirts because we have a new logo, for instance, and where should we put it? They just registered this in our Trans online platform, and then we sent this to our sorting hubs. We opened up social institutions in Germany and Austria, which are enabled through our digital system, through our app, and they know how to sort textile waste, that we can use it for recycling. And then these textiles are sent to these social institutions. We organize everything with our digital system. That's the heart of what we do. And then we have the sorted textiles at our sorting hubs. Then we bring these sorted textiles to the recyclers in Europe. They mechanically recycle the textiles. I have a picture that you can see this a little bit better in the next slide. And from this, we have a recycled fiber that can be used to produce new yarns out of it. We cannot, since these fibers are not the highest quality like the virgin fibers, we need to mix virgin fibers and recycled fibers up. That in the end, we have yarns that have 30% recycled content and 70% virgin yarns. And these yarns can be used and go in the whole global supply chain to produce new textiles. I have some examples for this later on. What we saw is for high quality and constant quality to achieve that in the end product, sorting is the gatekeeper. Because you can imagine when you once have, you put in the recycling machine blue-colored textile waste, and then next time you put in red textile waste, then you don't have the same color and you don't have the same shades. So a good and high quality sorting enables us that we have stable and high quality outputs in the fibers afterwards. So that was really like the key challenge to get a quality standard for the sorting. And that is what we achieved and what we found out. And in the end, our main know-how that we built up for the last 3 years is that we know which textile can go which recycling route. And we decide that. Here, I got some pictures for you from this mechanical recycling process because I think this is interesting. This is not a new technology at all. This was there before for insulation materials and so on. But what we do today is we use these machines to rip apart the garments to get the fiber out of it. You see these needles here. They just get finer and finer inside the machine, that in the end we only have the fiber anymore. And we just do this much more slower to not destroy this fiber, that we have a fiber length in the end that we can use for yarn spinning again. The interesting thing here is, why do we achieve better qualities? Is the sorting and the better quality of how we recycle it. We don't have any machines, and we have partners for this, and we are more the ones who organize this whole supply chain, while we ourselves as Turns don't have any production lines or something like this. So in the end, what comes out of this recycling machine are 4 different kind of raw materials for new product categories. So really the heart of Turns are the so-called Güte classes, or classes A and B, where we can spin new yarns. Spin new yarns for t-shirts, shirts, and everything that we wear. And then class B is for woven fabrics like home textiles and so on. And then class C is something we know from non-woven downsizing materials, insulation materials. And class D, of course, we cannot recycle all kinds of textiles. And so there's still an amount of textiles that have to go to energy recovery. When we think about this perfect world, so what we do today is we take the textile waste that we have today and we see how recyclable is it. We recycle the parts that are recyclable, and the other stuff needs to go to the waste, to energy recovery. But in a perfect world, since we are the ones knowing what can be recycled or not, how would we design a textile in the future that it definitely can go to the recycling? Maybe you've heard about it or not, but if you are in textile industry, you definitely heard this, because this is like the overall goal. We prefer monomaterials in the end, because what we put into the recycling machine, we get out. And it's much more easy to only sort for instance, 100% cotton than 97% cotton and then 3% polyester or polyamide mixtures and so on. So if every designer would just go with monomaterials by default and only uses different materials if it's necessary for quality reasons, then we would have a much higher percentage of textiles that are recyclable today. And then design for disassembly and repair means, of course, that the longevity of a textile is still the key point to a sustainable textile, because this most sustainable textile is just 10 and 20 years in our clothings. And then data by design is the lack of data standards. If we can collect textiles and we would be able to read out all the material compositions and all the parameters of a textile, then it would be much easier for us to sort for recycling in big scale. These are just a little bit more in detail, the design for recycling criteria, because what is important here is that we can still recycle textiles if they are not monomaterial, if they are just a two-sided material mix and not more than 2 materials. Then it goes to downcycling. And of course, glitter and sequins and so on is not good for recycling. So stay away from this kind of textiles when you go shopping on your own. And this is also, how does the perfect article look like for us? And we want to have high quality and mixed materials are no problem. Elastane is a problem, but maybe not. We don't need to go in that detail. That there's still some time for you now to ask questions. Just to go a little bit on the legislation side, maybe you have heard about this. With the EU Green Deal, there comes a big textile strategy. And with that comes the ESPR, which says that textiles should become more durable, repairable, reusable, and recyclable, and that they must have recycled content by 2023. 2023 is already in the past, of course. And so this is something where we as startup can really rely on, build on a new market, because the textile recycling market is a completely new one. And this helps us, finding investment, talking to clients, and so on. So maybe it's competitive. You've heard about it. To get a little bit more practical in the end, what did we achieve so far? So we started in the workwear because we had their high qualities. We have not a huge diversity of textiles. You can imagine there's a red color and a blue color and a black and a white for workwear, but when we go to fashion, the variety passable textiles, material compositions, colors, and so on is just much bigger. So that was easy. So what we did is we took the high quality textiles from the workwear and we put it in different kind of textile industry and niches. So what we started with was we created a loungewear collection with a client of ours out of workwear. And then the next step was a tea towel. And currently, we are also going to design. So what we did with this year's Berlin Fashion Week, there was a designer who won the Zalando Awards because she worked with our yarns, and she showed that with yarns from recycled post-consumer workwear, she can create nice new fashion pieces, and that we have with the recycled fiber from workwear, that we have a new raw material that we can use for any kinds of textile. Industries or textile base. We today work with more than 140 companies in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. Mainly you can see here in the workwear industry. These are big industry partners. All with a lot of employees. They have to bring their old workwear somewhere, and we are the partners for this. What we also do a lot is like making marketing stories together with companies. So, for instance, they give us their own textile waste, and we recycle it and make them and produce on socks with their logo on it, so they can communicate this so their employees internally or also externally as a marketing story. That was just a short and very quick idea about what we do at Turns, what our solution is. We are really the ones building the whole digital and operational infrastructure that it's easy for companies and also different kinds of stakeholders that just want to get rid of their textile waste. And we produce something new out of it and provide this new raw material to the textile producers, to the textile industry.